Well, it's certainly not Tuesday anymore, but we did get some interesting news. So welcome to apparently DLC overdress news. I don't know if this was an official source or if this came through a kind of like blur by accident or whatever happened, but we got the ratios for the remaining 4 starter decks. So we basically got these big old slides that essentially revealed the names and the ratios of all the cards in all the starter decks. And this is actually quite big news, purely for the fact that some of these ratios are wonky, and the names kind of give away something that we might be seeing as a trend in the game in general, which is that it looks like each starter deck isn't going to be just following one aesthetic and kind of mixing and mashing the different ones of that nation. Let me explain this by showing you the one for the second starter deck, which is the Danji Momoyama Tyrant Tiger one. So the ratios are as follows. So we have our main grade 3, the Persona Ride, the Violence Bruce, so this comes as a 4 of, and it's the main grade 3. And then we have our grade 2, Diabolos Anger Richard, so that's the main grade 2 that we've seen in the artwork quite a lot of already, and that comes as 4 copies as well. And then we have the main grade 1, Diabolos Bad Steve, also has 4 copies. So like the main cards come at 4 copies. Our starter is Innocent Matt, also has 1 copy because it's our starter. And then here's what things get interesting. We have our second grade 3 at 4 copies, which is called Fierce Quaking Nullity Fist Colossus. Keep in mind these are like, first impression kind of translations. They're not official translations yet. They are just like, the community attempting to translate them from Japanese. And that's interesting because Nullity Fist Colossus sounds awfully Gear Chronically. So that's what is already giving people this feeling that multiple aesthetics will be mixed in one, but that's not all. We have Deep Ice Noble Iza, which is a grade 2 that comes at 3 copies. So again, like Ice Noble, where is that coming from? We have Steam Gunner Brody as a 3 of grade 2. Steam Gunners are basically essentially have always been in Gear Chronicles. That's another kind of like Gear Chronicle card in this Spike Brothers looking deck. We have Acrobat Presenter, which is our grade 1 at 4 copies, which is also a very Pale Moon sounding card. So that's another one that's basically like, so it's Spikes, Gears, Pale Moon. Okay, keep it coming. The Ice Noble might even be like Dark Irregulars, to be honest. And then we have Super Movement Dancing Princess Miranda, which is our PG. So that's also like Dancing Princess. That sounds Pale Moon as hell, so that's our PG at 4 copies, it's a grade 1. And then we have our Over Trigger, Olbaria, so that's the one that everyone gets. The Critical Trigger, the triggers we've seen, the Mai, Jake, Kirian, Ariana we've seen, but then the order is a grade 1 this time, so I think the previous one was grade 2, so this one is grade 1, and it's called Brother's Soul. This is actually such a cool name for an order. It comes with 3 copies, so you don't get a full playset from just one starter deck, so you might have to buy a second one to finish that playset, but maybe you only need 3, maybe you even just play 2, who knows? So we're going to find out when we actually know the effect of these cards, but Brother's Soul is a really cool name for an order, I would say, and it looks like all of these star decks will be containing orders. But what's interesting is that, like, the ratio of this one is pretty normal, right? It's got 17 grade 0s, 15 grade 1s, 10 grade 2s, and 8 grade 3s. That's like about as standard for a grade ratio for a deck as possible. But the interesting thing is that, unlike the Dragon Empire one, there's no, like, trick start. There's no, like, grade 0 that is just played for the sake of, overdressing over. So that's kind of making people think like, oh, maybe overdress is only going to be for Dragon Empire, or maybe overdress is going to be just like done differently in other decks. So for example, maybe in this it's going to be like, just grade 1s to grade 3s or grade 1s to grade 2s and not starting from a grade 0. But I feel like they should be using overdress in every single, nation. I feel like it's the name, it's like, like Vanguard G, it was like the G is after the G zone. So it's not like, only Gear Chronicle got to use the G zone, stuff like that. And like Legion Mate, it wasn't just like Royal Paladin Kagero that used Legion. So I feel like it'd be weird if it was just Dragon Empire that had overdress. So this is just like early thoughts. You guys watching this in the future might be like, haha, look what this guy thinks. Anyway, let's move on and look at the Keter Sanctuary one. This one is particularly interesting with the ratios. So the names don't really give us as much of an impression. So for example, our main grade 3, Apex Greater Bastion, 4 copies. Then we have a grade 2, Knight of Heavenly Spear Lucas. So this one is the grade 2 at 4 copies. Knight of Heavenly Sword Fort, so that's the grade 1 at 4 copies, and then the starter is Knight of Heavenly Bow Baze, so that's also a grade 0 at 1 copy, so that is our starter. But then here's where things get interesting. 4 copies of another grade 3, Intense Witch Ramana, so witches, cool, that's nice to see already. Knight of Battle Axe Rafuruk, grade 3, 4 copies, that's already 12 grade 3s in here, right? Then we jump straight to grade 1, Shadow Bow Archer Lysana, 3 copies. So Shadow Bow, pretty nice, sounds a bit not as Royal Paladin anymore. Platinum Wolf, 2 copies grade 1, interesting. Platinum Wolf could be just about anything, to be honest. Genesis, maybe. Then Life-Saving Angel Claviel, 4 copies grade 1 Sentinel, so that's probably going to be more Angel Feather themed. Then we have the old barrier as always, the triggers we've already seen, the Gurkhant, Gallus, Reeve, and Arceus. And then the Japanese title for the order is quite interesting because it's like Hour of the Divine Judgment cometh, or come forth, or like come, Hour of the Divine Judgment, you know, something like that, or like Time of Divine Judgment. The title in Japanese is like, it's the time for divine judgment has come, but it'll be interesting how they translate that. And the interesting thing is here is that it's a grade 3 order at 4 copies this time. So far, this is the only order at 4 copies. And the ratio is really interesting for this one because we have 17 grade 0s, you know, or 16 triggers in the starter. We have 13 grade 1s, only 4 grade 2s, 4 only. What is this, DP? Then 16 grade 3s, including the order. And that is just like insane. Like this is basically like DP level of like grade ratios. So I'm assuming that either Bastion just like gives shield or something to the grade 3s like Dieliner did, or the like order does something with like defensive power, because this like lack of shield power in this deck is a little bit concerning if there isn't some kind of ability. So, you know, I'm willing to think that there's something going on here, even with either with the main grade 3 or with the order. At least with the main grade 3, we'll probably find out in like 2 weeks time, because next week is Dark State, so then this one should be the one after that. So that'll be really interesting to see what that actually is. And then of course we move on to the 2 girls. So we have Megumi's Stoicheia one. So the Sylvan King one is also pretty interesting. The ratios this time are also a little bit different from usual. So let's go over it. So we have our main grade 3, which is the Magnolia, 4 copies, you know, it's a Persona ride, but that's the only grade 3 in the deck. There's only 1 grade 3, that's it. No backup grade 3s, nothing. And then we have Sylvanhorn Beast Lattice, 4 copies grade 2, then the Sylvanhorn Beast Charis, 4 copies grade 1, and then the starter Sylvanhorn Beast Rote. So that's our grade 0 starter, 1 copy. Then we have Slashing Mutant Bruslash, grade 2 at 3 copies. So Slashing Mutant, that really sounds like Mega Colony, essentially. Then we have Sylvanhorn Beast Duergar, 4 copies grade 2, so more grade 2s. Routing Petal, or Rooting Petal, Stomalia, sounds very Neonectary, grade 2, 4 copies. Knight of Camaraderie Cyrus, grade 1, 4 copies. Knight of Camaraderie, that sounds, again, like Neonectary, kind of. And then we have, of course, the triggers that we all have like the same stuff. And then the order, which comes at 2 copies and is grade 2, and this one is called Beast Calling Voice. So this one's interesting because, you know, Beast Calling Voice already gives me the impression it's going to be like superior calling or like powering up like this, you know, the units in the front, as they kind of say in the slogan. But again, here the ratios are interesting, right? 17 grade 0s as always, 12 grade 1s, 17 grade 2s, it's actually an insane amount of grade 2s, and 4 grade 3s. So again, these ratios are all over the place. Like there's no just general pattern. There's no like general pattern for the grade ratios anymore. And that's thanks to the ride deck that this is going to be happening. And I'm assuming that these like grade 3 bosses or these orders will be able to kind of like warp these grade ratios around them. And that's actually really cool. Like to me, this is actually really cool and like a nice thing to see. So again, like in each starter deck, just the names give us an impression that there's going to be aesthetics from all over that nation. It's not going to be just that one aesthetic of like great nature as we see in the Stoicheia one. We can already see like some Neonectar sounding cards, some Mega Colony sounding cards, so that's actually pretty cool and I like that quite a lot. Alright, and of course the best one, Tomari Seto's Aurora Valkyrie, so you know, that's the one I care about the most, and I'm very happy to see some of the names in here. So this time around we're back to pretty regular ratios, so I'm already gonna spoil it. We have 17 grade 0s, 14 grade 1s, 11 grade 2s, and 8 grade 3s. That's like by far the most normal one so far. So of course our main grade 3, Aurora Battle Princess Seraph White, 4 copies. Then Aurora Battle Princess Lizette Pink is our grade 2, 4 copies. Then Aurora Battle Princess Serna Blue is our 4 copies grade 1. And then of course our starter is Aurora Battle Princess Ruby Red at 1 copy. Then this is the backup. So grade 3, the secondary grade 3, Alert Guard Gunner. This of course sounds like it's going to be a robot, so probably either Nova or DP inspired. Then the next grade 2, 4 copies is Security Patroller. Again, sounds like a robot. Probably either that or like an actual like security guard. I'm hoping it's a robot though. So again, grade 2, 4 copies. Gem Combination Jewelion. This is definitely a robot. Like gem was whatever, but combination, that's DP 100%. Jewelion, like Jewelion is like just like the Eon ending is like, you already know it's gonna be a robot. 3 copies grade 2, that's all that matters. Autonomic Caution is an interesting grade 1, so that's 4 copies grade 1, and that's going to be interesting to see Might be more of an alien. I'm getting kind of like Link Joker vibes from that, to be honest. So it might be like either like a deleter or like a Messiah-esque unit. Then we have Megalith Monster Gilgrand. So this could be either Link Joker-esque or it could be Dimension Police-esque. And I'm going to be cool with whichever one it is, to be honest. So 4 copies as our Sentinel. And then of course the triggers are all basically the same. So Relus Yellow, Amy Orange, Front Rose, Torch Green. And then our order is a 2-copy grade 1. So I think this is only the Megumi and the Tomari ones come with orders as 2 copies. So I might have to buy 2 starter decks just to complete the playsets, if it's even worth it, you know, if the order is actually good. And the order is Galactic Central Prison Galactraz. Galactraz? Are we really doing this? You are actually putting Alcatraz in the galaxy, like just out into space? All right. So we literally have Alcatraz floating in space, and that's gonna be Tomari's actual mechanic. So, or not mechanic, but at least the order. And it sounds like, I don't know, maybe it's gonna be some kind of, they really sound like field spells to me. Like these really sound like orders that you just put in that order zone, and they just kind of like vibe there and sit there and do certain effects. And I'm personally really hyped for it. I mean, I love what they're doing with this. Like, I like seeing the fact that, like, first, they have like all these wacky grade ratios. 2, the fact that they have all these different like names that kind of correspond to different clans in those nations. You know, if anything, it feels like the Dragon Empire one is a little bit of like the only one that's not fitting as much, but I guess they're all dragons and dinosaurs. But what about the ninjas, man? But I guess we'll see that a bit more later on as we go along. So yeah, this was honestly really interesting to take a look at. Like, I'm looking forward to now seeing more of these starter decks. The fact that we just know that they have all the different aesthetics, like just basically spread out even in just one starter deck, just one $4 starter deck, is really good, because that means that people can actually like enjoy the other aesthetics of the supporting cards without necessarily having to devote to the main cards. Like, you know, maybe those cards are more splashable between the nation into like other builds as well. So we'll see what they actually are and how these decks play, but this definitely amped up my excitement a lot. Anyway, that's basically going to be it for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Tomorrow we'll be back on some Zero, unless there's some random big news out of nowhere again. And we'll be playing with some Ramiel Reverse, so look forward to that. Also, for those of you that do want live translations when they do the Tuesday streams, feel free to pop by my Twitch. I usually re-stream the actual official reveal streams, and like do provide live translations as it goes. So if you want to get like the info immediately before having to wait for YouTube and stuff, then you can check that out on my Twitch as well. Anyway, on that note, that's gonna be it for me today, this little impromptu video today as well, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.